After the tenant of a rent-controlled building in New York City passed away, the NYPD put a seal on the tenant's apartment and will not allow the landlord to clean it for the last 8 months. And the stench is horrible. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over this crazy story out of New York City. So, there was a tenant who was living in this apartment building, and this tenant had lived there for over 3 decades. Okay, so for over 30 years, and the tenant passed away. And you know what? This happens. Sometimes you're going to have a tenant that passes away in your unit. Now, the unfortunate fact is that the tenant didn't have any friends or family checking on them, and they passed away and nobody knew about it. So, you know what? It became an issue where there was an odor, a smell coming from the unit. And finally, the body was discovered. NYPD was called in, and guess what? They put a seal on the apartments like it was a crime scene saying, hey, the landlord can't go in here and clean this up. Now, this presents a huge problem because guess what? The other tenants still, they can smell the odor 8 months later of this person who had passed away. Okay. And it is awful. Just, if you haven't smelled a person who has passed away before or an animal that has passed away, just be aware that it is a very, very putrid, awful smell. And, it's absolutely horrible. It attracts rodents, it attracts insects. In a place like New York, this is a recipe for disaster. So, yeah, this landlord is actually suing the NYPD to come and hurry up, get this seal off of this unit so that they can go in there and get it cleaned up and hopefully be able to get the unit turned over as well. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. First of all, have you ever, as a landlord, had a tenant who passed away inside your property? And I know I have not. Okay, this is one of the things I have not yet experienced, but I'm sure that a lot of the landlords who've been in the business for a long enough period of time have experienced this. And if so, how long was it before the person, was removed from the unit? And was there any issues where you had to get like a special cleaning service in order to get the place cleaned up afterwards? Okay. I'm just curious if you have experienced this, put down in the comment section below exactly what happened in your specific case. So, anyway, let's get into this article. This article is coming from thepatch.com, and it says, body removed, but stench and NYPD seal remain months later. Lawsuit. An NYPD seal has let a dead man's apartment fester over 8 months and keeps landlords from cleaning it. A stomach turning lawsuit argues. And they have a picture of the deceased person's apartment here, and I'll throw that up on the screen so you can see. And it looks like the place was a mess. Now, obviously, I think one of the biggest issues when we're talking about these rent control tenants is that, they stay in these units for so long, and, they just accumulate a lot of stuff. So, a lot of these apartments are just, I mean, they're in horrible shape after 30 plus years. The tenant not wanting anything to be updated, not wanting to leave, and accumulating a ton of stuff over time. And this tenant specifically, it looks like they lived a very sad, depressing lifestyle on top of that, where you can pass away and nobody even knows. I really feel for this tenant because I'm sure that many of us have experienced loneliness and been alone. And you know I'm glad that this isn't the way that I met my end, sitting alone in a bunch of filth in an apartment. So anyway, let's get into the story. Odors, roaches, rats, hoarded items, and fluids from a corpse remain in a police sealed New York City apartment nearly a year after the city took the body away, according to a new lawsuit. Jane and Darian Krostowski, landlords of 99 Russell Street, filed suit against the NYPD this month in a desperate bid to get in and clean the Greenpoint apartment, whose stench is driving out their tenants. Stomach turning court records show. There are currently terrible, foul odors coming from the apartment, possible vermin in or around the premises, and roaches infesting the building, their lawsuit states. And taking a look at the building, they have a picture of the building here in the article, and I'll throw that up on the screen as well. And it does not look like it is some huge, multifamily building. It just looks like a small apartment building owned by these landlords. Okay, now I don't know if these landlords own a ton of apartments all over city or not, right? But I'm just saying that this isn't a huge building. So if you're in the building with this former hoarder tenant, then you could be facing, all the bugs and roaches and garbage and stench and odors and stuff coming from this unit that they can't clean out. And your hands are tied until the police remove their seal saying, hey, you can go in here. This is no longer a crime scene. Now, I don't know why. That's the real question. Why has the NYPD left the seal up on this unit? Is this still being investigated? Do they want it to be, sealed up forever? And is that even realistic? Or do they need to just go in there if they need additional evidence, get that evidence, get out, and then allow the landlord to get it cleared? Okay, because they're just costing the landlord money at this point in lost rental income. And if their other tenants are leaving because they can't deal with all of the problems, the odors and the bugs and all that crap, then they're losing even more. So this is absolutely awful. There are currently terrible foul odors coming from the apartment, possible vermin in or around the premises, and roaches infesting the building, their lawsuit states. Plaintiffs have been informed by other tenants that they are moving out. The Krostowskis and their attorney, Paul Sabaj, didn't respond to Patch's request for comment before publication. The NYPD declined to do so. A Patch reporter visited 99 Russell Street, but no tenants could be reached for comment. The stench of death is not a unique problem for New Yorkers as much as Patch readers might hope otherwise. When one New Yorker took to social media for solutions to a dead body smell in the building, Redditors jumped at the chance to share tips from gained experience. Yeah, if you have any tips on getting this sort of odor out of a unit, put it down. Like what is it? The smell of lies. So I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Okay, I'm not a crime scene master cleanup type person, right? But this is an insane situation. To me, what it really sounds like is the NYPD forgot about it. Okay, they put their little seal on there, and the landlords have been calling them and saying, "Hey, just come down here," and they just forgot about it. They just put it on the back burner, and now it's been 8 months. The place stinks. It was a hoarder place. You could see from the very first picture, the place was a hoarder house. Okay, and it was packed to the gills with all sorts of garbage already. So it was already in bad shape. Now, the only thing the landlord wants to do is just get it cleared out. It would have been nice if the landlord could have evicted the hoarder tenant before they passed away, because they probably knew the tenant was a hoarder, but they have so many tenant protections in place for people like this that it makes it absolutely impossible to get rid of them. And even if you do get rid of them, what good does it do if you can't fix the unit up, spend the thousands of dollars fixing the unit up, and you can't raise the rent to cover the losses or the cost and investment that you just made trying to get the place fixed up? It doesn't. See, New York creates a situation where these sort of tenants, hoarder tenants, are protected by the law. You know, I have big problems with rent control and all these super strong eviction protections. And this is a bad case scenario of exactly what can happen to a landlord when they have these sort of laws in place. One posted that putting a can of pre-ground coffee on the stove can drive away the smell of decomposition. Yet another noted that dead body smells can take a while to clear out, especially if no cleaning was done after. It's not on the police or coroner to clean up the apartment after, so you could be stuck with it for a while, they wrote. It's true. NYPD records show property owners are responsible for cleaning up trauma scenes, a rule that potentially puts the Krostowskis into a dilemma. And I think that's pretty much the case everywhere. I'm not saying, I don't know the laws for every little specific city, but I am pretty certain that the property owner is going to be responsible for getting the property cleaned up. I mean, I guess you could take it from the security deposit if you have one for a tenant that's been in there for 30 years, but you know, it doesn't really, it's not going to cover the cost of a hoarder and plus, the smell of decomposition from a body. Okay. It's going to be a loss. It's going to be a loss. So you're going to spend a lot of money getting this place cleaned up. You're going to have to at least I would get a professional cleaning service, one that specializes in this sort of thing to go in there. I mean, first of all, you're going to need somebody to go in there and get all the hoard out. Then you're going to need that specialized cleaning service to go in there. You might have to replace, carpet, drywall, etc., to get the odor out. I mean, I know when I have had pet smells stuck in the walls of my house or cigarette smells, and it has been a nightmare trying to get all of the place cleaned up to get those odors out. So I imagine this could even be worse. But talk about a weird situation to have happened. I mean, you don't want anyone to pass away inside one of your units, but just the police not allowing you to go up in there, like as a landlord, there's only so far that I can go before I'd be like, you know what, I just went up in there and let the police come and mess with me later. They can fine me or something. I am not going to sit here and have this place stinking and driving my tenants away and costing me tens of thousands of dollars. The fine alone would be worth me paying versus dealing with this nonsense.